In the year 2000s, a 19-year-old American girl named Emma lived with her mother in a busy city. They had a peaceful life, until one day, her mother began complaining of severe stomach pain. Emma tried giving her some medicines, but the pain only grew worse. Worried, Emma decided to take her to the hospital immediately. The nearest hospital was an ancient 400-year-old building that everyone in the city whispered about. They called it the Haunted Hospital. Despite its eerie reputation, it was known for having excellent doctors, so Emma had no choice but to bring her mother there. The doctors ran some tests and gave her mother medication, but her condition didn't improve. Her mother began vomiting uncontrollably. The doctors decided to admit her for 2 days and told Emma she could stay with her mother. That evening, as her mother's condition worsened, the doctors gave her sleeping pills to help her rest through the night. Once her mother was asleep, Emma finally allowed herself to relax. Exhausted, she lay down on a small cot beside her mother's bed and closed her eyes. At midnight, Emma was startled awake by a sharp knocking sound. It came from the corridor outside their room. She thought it might be a doctor doing their rounds. Rubbing her eyes, she called out, "Wait a minute," and walked to the door. When she opened it, there was no one there. The hallway was dark and empty, lit only by a flickering fluorescent light. Emma felt a shiver crawl down her spine. Quickly, she locked the door and returned to her cot. But no sooner had she laid down than the knocking began again. This time, it was louder and more urgent. Fear gripped her as she hesitated. She finally walked to the door and opened it again. Once more, no one was there. The hallway stretched out before her, silent and shadowy. Emma's heart pounded in her chest. Something was wrong. She decided to go downstairs to see if any doctors or staff were still around. The silence in the hospital was unsettling. The only sound was the faint creak of the old wooden floors beneath her feet. As she reached the lobby, she realized it was completely deserted. Not a single person was in sight. Suddenly, she heard a voice, low and whispery, calling her name. Emma. Emma. Her blood ran cold. She turned around, but no one was there. Panic set in, and she ran back to her mother's room. But when she reached it, the door was locked from the inside. "Mom," she cried, pounding on the door. "Mom, open the door." She knew her mother had taken sleeping pills and wouldn't wake up easily. Tears streamed down her face as she continued shouting. Then, she heard the sound of the toilet flushing inside the room. A moment later, the door creaked open. Her mother stood there, looking groggy. "Emma, why are you crying?" her mother asked. "Did you go to get something to eat?" Emma froze. "What?" she stammered. "I didn't go anywhere. You've been asleep this whole time." Her mother frowned. "You just told me you were going to the canteen to get food," she said. Emma's hands trembled. She hadn't said that. Something was messing with her. But she forced a smile and said the canteen was closed. She decided not to tell her mother the truth. Her mother was already weak and needed rest. Emma locked the door again and climbed back onto the cot, her body tense with fear. She stayed awake the rest of the night, staring at the shadows on the walls, waiting for morning to come. By dawn, Emma was ready to leave. She begged the doctors to discharge her mother early. As they left the hospital, Emma swore to herself that she would never return. No one ever found out what haunted that hospital or what Emma experienced that night. But Emma knew one thing for sure: something unnatural lived within those walls, something that liked to play with fear. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.